I guess it's an innate value for me as the founder.
That's probably what led me to start Inspiring, because I thought that this would be the place where I could learn and grow a bit more.
And how can we help everybody around us grow?
What you can do is bring that opportunity for growth, that opportunity for development to your offering to candidates.
Yeah.
That can be your USP. Hello and welcome to Beyond the Boardroom, where Kelly and I are going to be exploring today our third value, which is grow. And we're going to explore that in the context of, as an organisation, the absolute critical need to be navigating the growth of your people. Mindful, of course, that skills are changing at such a rate that actually our skills are almost becoming out of date so quickly. And our ability to be able to predict the future is very difficult. So Kelly and I are going to explore that a little bit more today. But let's touch first on why grow is one of our core values.
I guess it's an innate value for me as the founder.
Yeah.
So if I look at my personal values, it is about learning, it's about growing and about love. And so that transitions into the business to always be open to learning, always be open to growth. Be that personal or professional, and how can we, in terms of our own values as an organisation, how can we help everybody around us grow? And don't get me wrong, that's not always in the nicest possible way. That's in a challenging, high support, high demand we talk about. But I think if you're not growing, then you're going backwards in some way.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's worse than standing still, isn't it, if you're not growing?
Yeah, and one of my favourite words is curious, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like getting really curious, seeking to understand, poking around in stuff, 100 tabs open on my computer at any one time. Think what you may think.
So true.
But yeah, growth is a really important part of who we are as human beings. And learning, just for me personally, is exciting. And then when we work with businesses, they are here to grow. They're here to grow individuals. They're here to grow their teams. They're here to grow their organisation.
Yeah.
And hopefully grow the impact that they have on society.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to us.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in the business too. You chose us.
I did.
What does it mean for you?
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? Because, I reflect back on my career and think about how I've kind of dug deep at times and really kind of had to find time to make that kind of learning and growth possible. I didn't go straight to uni. I kind of left school, went into the world of work. I've done all of my learning whilst working and whilst bringing my children and my family up. And so I've always felt so grateful to be able to do that. Grateful for either the financial or the time support I've been given over the many years. And having reached kind of CPO level, you kind of think that's your pinnacle of where you're trying to get to in your career in a people space. And people saying, well, what's next? Do you diversify and go into more general management, CEO, or a more operational role? And actually, that's probably what led me to start Inspiring, because I thought that this would be the place where I could learn and grow a bit more.
Yeah.
And also use that learning with lots and lots of organisations. Yes. So that desire in me to make a difference, fueled by that kind of zest for learning and desire to be better today than I was yesterday. And then I get to apply that and provide it to many, many clients rather than just one organisation at a time.
Yeah. And it's, it's helpful. Sometimes it might be a slight hindrance, but I'm kind of okay with that. If you think about our products, if we learn something today and it's better than what we currently do, it gets changed.
Yeah.
We learn from our customers and clients. We learn from each other. We learn from what we read, what we do, and we apply it. And for me, and some would argue that you should keep it the same and it's scalable and repeatable.
Yeah.
Whereas I am a huge, as you know, advocate of continuously improving and giving, why wouldn't we give our customers
the very best
that we know is the very best.
Yeah.
So,
and that comes from so many different sources, right? Yeah. So I worked with an exec team last week, planning kind of our next team coaching session, sought feedback from them afterwards to kind of say, what worked well, what would you like to see, kind of even better if. And someone shared with me something that they'd done elsewhere that had really worked.
Great.
So then I'm soaking that in and going, wow, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And even this morning we were doing how have you used that particular model? What's worked?
Yes.
How can we improve that? What have we learned from our clients and how they've responded to a particular piece of coaching that we've done? How have they responded that helps us to help the next team that we might use it with?
Absolutely.
And that's what I love about being here.
Yeah. And we learn from that. We also learn from the bits we don't quite get right. This morning there were a couple of times where we said we tried it this way.
Didn't work.
And it didn't work as well. So let's give our customers the best version.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think more than ever, one of the clients that I work with actually said the other day, change has never felt so fast.
Yeah.
And yet it's never going to be this slow again.
I know, that's such a great statement, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Because when you really think about that.
It's the truth, like exponential growth in technology, the evolution or revolution that we appear to be going through. And how do business owners, founders, leaders, individuals equip themselves and continue to evolve and learn and develop and grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the right way.
Yeah. And even though digital growth is so prevalent, people will always be the cornerstone of any organisation, won't they? They'll still be critical to an organisational success.
Yeah.
And our ability to get the very best from every person in the organisation, all marching in the same direction, trying to achieve the same vision, will always be important.
Yes. Yes, and what we know at the moment is, whilst that might not stay the case, we have emotional intelligence, and we already know that that's a superpower for a leader anyway. So emotional intelligence is a huge differentiator. Also something that's not easily replicated by AI or tech. Doesn't mean it won't be. But, really playing into our superpowers as human beings and working alongside all of the advancements that are being made, and making sure that we embrace those. There's a number of organisations we work with who have reduced some really monotonous type of work or repetitive pieces of work that means their people. So actually what it means is they can grow and they can scale their business without having to recruit more people. And that the people that they've got in their organisation are doing far more interesting pieces of work. But that has meant actually quite an early investment in them developing. And I love working with clients like that because, if you're not investing in your people, if they are not getting regular development, then actually the salary that you pay them for, their actual value can decrease because as we advance, they still know the same as they did yesterday. Or the day before or worse. And so actually their value becomes reduced to an organisation. And I think that's quite dangerous for an individual as well as the organisation.
Well, because the reality is there will be somewhere else that will have an opportunity that will grow them. And, that we've always got that challenge, haven't we? If you think about our role as people leaders, that real challenge about, how do you attract great people into an organisation, particularly one that's growing and particularly where financially you might not be able to be the absolute best payer. So what you can do is bring that opportunity for growth, that opportunity for development to your offering to candidates. That can be your USP.
Absolutely.
Against the rest of the market.
And that's why, it's funny when we say that and then we look at our three values that have existed for over 3 years, but challenge, inspire and grow. And I think that's what human beings need. Well, we know that's what human beings need. We like to be challenged. We need to learn. We need to be stretched. We need to be inspired to do that there is a purpose. And we want to grow. And so those three things for me sit really nicely together. And actually we know in the work that we're doing in the HR space that people are choosing organisations because they're the ones that are going to invest in their personal development.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily vertically. A lot of people, you will talk about squiggly careers but it's, am I going to learn something from the people in this business? Am I going to be challenged enough to need to learn something in this business? Am I perhaps going to go home quite reflective and curious about something that happened today that I could have done better, and then supported to do it better? Is my leader going to stretch me in a really healthy way? So not burn out loads of work, but I'm in this really lovely, psychologically safe environment where I'm held accountable to deliver results, but I'm also accountable to learn and grow.
Love the fact that you brought psychological safety in. I know we've touched on it many times in our podcast, but it's so fundamental. And that model that we do when we're working with teams around psychological safety and performance accountability with 2 different executive teams over the last few weeks, I've explored that with them, and about people that sit in either the comfort zone. So I'm really comfortable, I don't feel the need to learn anything, I'm not being challenged, I'm also not being enormously valuable to my organisation. I feel safe, but actually I'm not being stretched. Then you've got the apathy zone, so actually I don't feel that safe, but also I'm not being challenged, so I'm just kind of, you know, spinning my wheels, just letting it all flow by me. And as you mentioned just then, that kind of piece around the anxiety zone, where probably people bounce between that and the performance zone. But it's so powerful to explore that with some very senior leaders over the last couple of weeks, and them seeing that kind of light bulb moment where they're going, oh, okay, where are the people in my team, do I think? And what do I need to be doing? And some of that might be about growth. It might be about challenge. It might be about inspiring. It might be about just holding them to account.
Absolutely. I think sometimes we're a little bit too gentle.
You
know, I remember early on with a client, them talking about, but people are coming to their reviews and they don't want development. They don't want to progress. And me saying, well, is that an option? Because what do we want and need as their role evolves or the organisation grows? And how do we have a learning culture or actually an expectation that you will continuously learn, develop and grow with us? And actually making it quite clear that the impact of not doing that,
there is an impact,
mean that you're unable to continue to stay at the level of capability that this organisation is going to need, because you know, actually we are a high performance team and we will really support each other, but everybody has to play their part. And if there is one cog in that team that isn't being the best version of themselves and continuously kind of shaving those seconds off and getting better, you probably won't stay on the team.
No, just like
that's
the pit
the consequence
stop.
I
love the pit stop analogy where they're continually shaving seconds off. They're actually really high performing as they are, but they want to be better, they want to be quicker, they want to be slicker. They're continually trying to get a bit better, and it can be tiny, those differences could be tiny, but they're still driven to get better and better.
There's Patrick Lencioni talks about the ideal team player, and you know I love it, and he talks about there are 3 components of being the ideal team player. So someone who is hungry, someone who is humble, and someone who is smart, and someone that's able to stay all 3 of those things as well. And it is that hunger, isn't it, that desire to be the best version of me,
yourself,
and learning some stuff. I mean, we're doing some work at the minute. I'm learning some stuff I'm not enjoying learning about myself. But if I'm going to be the best I can be for you guys, then I have also got a coach, and I will continue to do my journey. And, you know, as a founder, the business is getting bigger. We work with clients going through the same journey, so practice what we preach. Are you being the best version for yourself and taking a look in the mirror and making sure that you're learning and challenging and being challenged?
And it's uncomfortable, isn't it? For any of us to look in the mirror and go, okay, but without leaning into that, without really paying attention to, okay, for me to be what I need to be for my organisation and my team, where do I need to go now with my development journey?
And I often talk about all roads lead to the leaders. I have to then swallow some of my own medicine and make sure that I'm growing fast enough for the business and fast enough for you. And actually, because of the work we've been doing, I know that the organisation can grow faster than the human behaviours within it. And so I need to be ahead of the curve. I need to, I am forcing myself through 28-day AI challenges and different things that I don't know a huge amount about, but I will. Because if I'm going to be the best version for you, the best version for the clients, then I need to know about this stuff. And you will need to know about this stuff.
Exactly that.
And you are doing some of it as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a really important thing around kind of that organisational growth, and for founders and leaders to be able to understand enough about the future. To be able to at least be making inroads and steps into, okay, so I've got X people that work in this organisation today. The growth trajectory we're on will mean we'll have X people in the future. Exactly as you say, it might be that some of that very transactional work is shifted out into something that's automated. Exactly that. That makes much more interesting roles for the people that exist. Potentially not as many roles as might have been needed if we used humans for everything. But what will the people of the future be needing in your organisation, and how good can you get at predicting some of that? Understanding your existing people and the skills that they have, the skills they're interested in developing, and then the programme of growth that you'll bring to the people. Because so often you hear, don't you, of, we've been through a performance development programme, it's, end of the year, we've got everybody's desired learning needs, and there's a massive mismatch between what people would like to learn and actually what the organisation needs them to learn for the future. So how can we help people that are listening to bridge a bit of that gap?
It's a really interesting one, because I think there's even more I would overlay on that, actually. So, for example, what's happening out in society. So what we know is we've got an ageing workforce. We've been talking about that for a while, but when you look at some of the data, we will have far fewer people in work. And even if you've got a really young population, and I think this is a watch out for the tech space that we work in, you've got a really young population and you think, well, I haven't got that problem. Well, you have got that problem, because these legacy businesses, who all, by the way, need to be tech businesses, who have huge budgets, are going to lose some very critical seniority over the next few years. And they're going to be after your very young workforce, your very young, agile workforce. So it's an all of us problem. That's where I'm hopeful that the tech taking, look at Klarna, they're using AI to do the equivalent of 700 employees' jobs at the moment. My hope for that is, therefore, it takes some of that reduced staff because of the reduced headcount, and we've got exciting opportunities. In terms of matching it up, I think organisations have to get much clearer about where are they going. And that doesn't mean they know everything. Like, the world changes. We are no longer in a world where we have a 10-year strategic plan and every strategic pillar that we chose is going to be the one that we follow. That's not what we live in. But actually, we do have to have a North Star. We do need our team to know what we're trying to achieve and why we're trying to achieve it. What's our purpose? And then, as we work with organisations, really engaging the team in a more kind of coaching and co-facilitating environment, no longer kind of command and control. This is our baby. All of us are in this boat. This is where we're sailing to. And we want you to be part of the team that works out how we're going to get there. What skills are we going to need? What strengths have you got? What part do you want to play? And having those really curious and engaging conversations. And then I also think we need to be brave enough that if someone doesn't want to be part of the crew, that we help them find another crew to be part of.
Yeah.
In a really nice, kind, dignified way.
Yeah.
Because there's a space for everybody.
Yeah.
But it might not be on this boat with this team
Yeah.
at this point in the journey.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. As hard as that might sound, it is right. And, you know, we've both been in those situations, haven't we, where we've decided it's time to hop off one boat and join another. Yeah. And, yeah, it's a great analogy about, you know, navigating your way to whatever the desert island is.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have got people who are passionate about that, then you've and put in the effort, they're hungry, they're humble, and they're smart.
Yeah.
Your boat's going to go so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because you're not being held back, are you, by anything?
No.
It's like the anchor's still down and you're dragging kind of along, aren't you? Or the headwinds.
Is it wrong to say get rid of the anchors?
Well, yeah, either that or you're sailing into headwinds.
Yeah.
And actually that's then becoming incredibly difficult.
Yeah. And I think, Jo, what I like about that is when you're sailing, you can see your competition so clearly. If you are in a race, you can see your competition. You can't always see that in business. And I don't know, you know, I think there's an abundance for all, really. But there are winners and losers in the world. And you want to be part of the winning group. And so how do you stay ahead, keep iterating, improving, and I think learning is a big part of the team bringing something more valuable to the group and not just the one or two individuals at the helm.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think releasing the potential of the people that are around you. So assume or adopt the thought process that I might not have the right answer here. And actually someone in this group, that might be organisational wide, it might be within your direct reports, someone in this group is more likely to have the answer to this question than me.
Yeah.
And actually shift your approach with your people so they're either coming to you with a solution or they get used to you saying, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's really important. I was at a 3-day retreat with a client last week and I ran a facilitated session using De Bono's 6 thinking hats. We were talking about that.
Love thinking hats.
And it was wonderful to watch the CEO sitting on the sideline, and only once did she interrupt and caught herself beautifully to go, oh wait, because she had all the answers. She's such a quick thinker. It's so easy for her to go like this and give it to the team. And to facilitate a session where just letting her watch the team find all of the answers that she had, and for her to see they had all the answers, they've got all the answers. Something really magical happened at that moment.
Yeah.
And I happened to talk to one of the team afterwards who felt so empowered to be given that space. But the bit that you and I know is that's now going to actually happen.
Yeah.
Because it was their idea.
Yeah.
They weren't being told to do something. Yeah. It was their idea. And we know when you help individuals find the solutions for themselves, they think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
And of course they're going to do it.
Yeah.
So,
But the energy all sits with them, doesn't it? And then they feel that, I mean, empowered is such a wonderful word.
Yeah.
To have that where you've empowered your team or the people in your organisation to, you know, be innovative, do the right things, all connecting back to the purpose of the organisation, and what opportunity for growth that offers.
Yeah. So
even if you only do that.
Absolutely. So I think what you're really saying is if you want to grow your organisation, you don't need all of the answers. You need to know where it's got to get to.
Yeah.
And then you've got to coach.
Yeah.
And ask.
Be curious. And have your team help you with how. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And actually, there might be better answers than we've had ourselves.
Well,
Happens occasionally.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. I think so often, someone in the team will have a much better solution than we have.
Do you know, I worked in a manufacturing plant many, many, many years ago, where we went through a culture change of coaching and allowing people to have permission without seeking for it. What is it they say? Ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Not permission, yeah.
And we spent a good 12 months changing the culture from being, you can imagine manufacturing, from being kind of a we will tell you, it's very process driven, and all of that was still partly true. But actually, if you had a better idea, if you could see a better way of doing things, you were absolutely given the permission, the time, the budget to go and investigate that. And we had the most wonderful PA who had gone off on holiday. I may have told this story before on a podcast, I'm not sure. She'd gone off on holiday and seen our competitors do something better than us. So that piece about learning and growing from others. She came back, she challenged the organisation as to why our competitors were doing that and we weren't. And she was told that's because that's what we have to do. Well, in this new culture, she was like, that can't be true. That can't be true. I've seen another way almost. And so she knew she was allowed the money to go and find out from another advisor the situation. That PA and her holiday saved the organisation over £1 million a year.
Wow.
And that's the sort of thing that just wouldn't have happened before we went on this culture change of everybody has a voice, everybody has great ideas, everybody is expected to contribute to our organisational growth. And then bit by bit, we had this tsunami of idea generation. Well, not even just generation, where they give it to the manager and the managers have to make it happen. This wasn't that at all. This was personal responsibility and accountability to make our organisation as productive and as enjoyable as possible. And it, honestly, I can't tell you the amount of pride I felt watching some of these examples.
And there's so much growth in doing that, not only for the organisation but also individually. So people that feel like they're always having to ask the person above them, can I do this? This would be better if this or this. How much time do you think's wasted in organisations of that kind of moaning? This doesn't work very well, and it would be so much better if this would happen, and okay, go do.
Do you know, that's when you said that, I was like, it's the speed. Actually, it's the speed. And another example would have been, I mean, I won't give the actual example, but we had been trying to do something as a leadership team probably for 9 months, and we were unsuccessful in influencing the organisation into that way of thinking, the union into that way of thinking. Literally in one of these sessions where one of the team thought this same thing would be a really good idea and started to talk to his colleagues about it, and they thought it was a good idea.
Then it changes, doesn't it?
Overnight. Like maximum of a week, everybody had moved to that way of working. And it was just a moment for me in my own career that, we say it, don't we? But empower your people and trust your people that they will find the best solution. And if you don't tell them they've got to do it, they're far more likely to.
Well, that's true. So what are we saying? Grow or die?
Grow or die.
I know which one I'd rather do.
Yeah.
So we're at that point in the podcast where we've asked for your questions to us. It's a great opportunity to ask Kelly and I any of your burning questions, and we have one to answer today.
How do founders overcome their biggest growing pain points?
That's really interesting, because I think there are several growing pain points as you are scaling your organisation. And I think the advice I would give any founder is, when you feel it, and it will be really painful. You are tired. There is so much to do. There are so many decisions to make. The best piece of advice I can give is to stop. Sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? Stop a minute and really think about what it is you're trying to do here, and what are the biggest things that are going to actually make the difference?
Yeah.
And then how do you use your team better around you to be able to get done what needs to get done?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. I so many teams I talk to, they are drilling down and getting much clearer about what is going to make the boat go faster.
Yeah.
What are the 3 things that we're going to do
Yes.
in this quarter or in this 2-month period, and just being much clearer about what they are.
Yeah. And being clearer on behalf of everybody else as well.
Absolutely.
Which is brave, because we're no longer saying we're going to do everything.
Absolutely.
In fact, we can't do everything.
No.
So here are our bets.
Yeah.
And here's how we want you all to follow.
Yeah. Because the reality is, all the while we're going, oh, we know all of this probably needs to be done. We either don't do them very well because we're doing a bit of all of it. But using the word bets is actually really important, because by doing that, you are hedging your bets. You're not just going, okay, as a leadership team, what are the top 3 things? Let's just do those and do them really well. Okay, there's a risk to that. There's a risk you might get one of those calls wrong. But the alternative is you won't do any of them particularly well.
Yeah.
And therefore the boat will continue to drag along its anchor.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, get someone, if you can't do it for yourself, get someone, get a coach, get a trusted advisor, a mentor, because what you're facing, other people have faced before. This isn't going to be a only you thing. Find those people who have experience and that can offer you advice, support, guidance and thinking space.
I love that as a coaching question as well, that piece of who has faced the challenge you're facing now.
Yes.
And what did they do?
Yes.
Some of that's actually in the public domain, right? So some of that you can do, by doing your own research. But actually, if you've got someone in your network, get a coach, get a mentor.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, it's similar to the question I often try and ask myself, which is, what would a really wise person do? Because sometimes you just can't see through it.
Yeah.
So, but there will be, at each stage of growth, there'll be almost like a glass ceiling that you have to smash through. And so what are the things that are not just going to tap on that glass, but are actually going to break through for you?
That was a great question. Thanks so much for sending that one in. If you also have a question and would like yours read out at the next podcast, please get in touch with us by sending us an email to hello@startinspiring.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you all for joining us again on this podcast, specifically talking about growth and how to help ourselves and the organisation go through those growing pains.
My reflection on that particular podcast is, you are not alone. Other leaders or founders are going through the same journey as you, or have done. You've got a team of people, even if it's only 1 or 2, you've got people around you that can also help you. Really nice podcast. Thanks so much for the conversation.
No worries. Just realised one of my key things is making sure I ask for help. So, and that's okay, right?
Yeah, of course
It's okay.
it's all right. Yeah, totally that.